Dr. Elena Reyes rubbed her tired eyes as her computer processed another batch of deep space telemetry data. 3 years of searching for patterns in the cosmic noise had yielded nothing but academic papers and funding renewals. Until now. The oscillating line on her screen pulsed with a rhythm that couldn't possibly be natural. 12 beats, pause, 7 beats, pause, 3 beats, pause, then repeat. The mathematical precision was unmistakable. Prime numbers in sequence, the universal language of intelligence. "This can't be right," she whispered, running the verification algorithm for the 4th time. The result remained unchanged. The signal originated from near Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon, but something about its properties suggested it wasn't coming from the moon itself, but rather using it as a reflective relay. Elena reached for the secure line to call her supervisor, Dr. Harrington, when she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The security camera in the corner of her lab, typically fixed in position, silently pivoted toward her workstation, its lens focusing directly on her screen. Someone was already watching. She casually closed the data visualization and opened an unrelated project. The camera remained fixed on her station for several minutes before returning to its default position. Elena's heart hammered in her chest as she saved the signal data to her encrypted personal drive. That evening, as rain pounded against the windows of her small apartment, Elena carefully examined the signal components. Hidden within the pulses was a complex mathematical sequence that, when properly decoded, contained coordinates and a disturbing message. "They have been lying to you since the stars first called." A crash from her living room jolted her from her analysis. Elena quickly powered down her tablet and tucked it beneath the loose floorboard under her bed. Voices murmured in the next room, not the clumsy sounds of ordinary burglars, but the practiced efficiency of professionals. She slipped out her bedroom window onto the fire escape, rain soaking her clothes as she descended to the alley below. Through her kitchen window, she glimpsed men in dark clothing methodically searching her apartment, paying particular attention to her electronic devices. Elena spent the night in a 24-hour diner, nursing cups of coffee until dawn. When she cautiously returned home, her apartment appeared untouched to the casual observer, but she knew better. Her backup drives were gone, along with her work laptop and research journals. The intruders had been thorough, but they'd missed the one place she had hidden her most crucial data. Encoded within her grandmother's vintage digital photo frame, disguised as corrupted image files. As morning light filtered through her curtains, Elena studied the signal again. The coordinates pointed to a location in the Arctic Circle. She needed help, someone she could trust, someone with resources. She thought of her former colleague, Dr. James Chen, whose brother had disappeared during a classified mission to Mars 3 years ago. The official report cited equipment failure, but James never believed it. He'd been asking uncomfortable questions ever since, questions that had cost him his position at the space agency. Elena packed a small bag, tucking the photo frame carefully between layers of clothing. Whatever truth waited at those coordinates, she couldn't face it alone. And she couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out, not just for her career or her safety, but for everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the cosmos. As she locked her apartment door behind her, Elena made a silent promise to herself. She would uncover the truth, no matter where it led or what it cost. Because some truths were too important to remain hidden, even if they changed humanity forever. Dr. James Chen lived off the grid in a renovated lighthouse on the Oregon coast. Elena found him hunched over a homemade radio array, scanning frequencies few civilians knew existed. His once pristine lab coat had been replaced by weathered flannel, and 3 years of suspicion had etched permanent lines around his eyes. "Elena Reyes," he said without turning around. "I wondered when they'd send someone after me." "No one sent me," Elena replied, placing her grandmother's digital frame on his cluttered desk. "I need your help, James. I found something." His skepticism dissolved as she decoded the hidden signal data. By midnight, they had confirmed the pattern wasn't a glitch or natural phenomenon. By dawn, They had begun mapping similar signal occurrences throughout decades of space mission data. "Look at this," James said, pointing to a timeline he created on his wall. Red pins marked official communication failures in space missions dating back to the 1960s. 40% of all missions logged as successful actually lost all contact for periods ranging from minutes to hours, always when they were on the far side of whatever body they were orbiting. Elena studied the pattern. The official reports claim equipment failures or expected blackouts. Convenient explanations, James countered, pulling a dusty box from beneath floorboards. "These are my brother's personal logs from the Mars mission. The official transcript says their final communication was about a system malfunction. But listen to this." He played a scratchy recording. "Base, we're seeing structures on the horizon. They don't look natural. Wait, something's approaching our position. It's not possible. Base, do you copy? There's someone out." The recording ended in static. "NASA claimed total equipment failure," James said quietly. "They sent a recovery mission 6 months later that found nothing. Not the lander, not the equipment, not the crew. Nothing." Elena's tablet chimed with an encrypted message from an anonymous sender. "Asterisk, the answers you seek are with Catherine Wells. Hurry. Asterisk. Catherine Wells." James's face paled. "The former mission controller. She disappeared 3 years ago, right after I started asking questions about my brother." A quick search revealed that Catherine Wells now lived under an assumed name in a remote New Mexico town. They drove through the night, the coordinates from Elena's signal programmed into their navigation system as their next destination. Catherine's home was an underground bunker disguised as an ordinary ranch house. Security systems that would impress military installations guarded her secret archive. Decades of classified space mission data, stored in a lead-lined vault to prevent remote access or deletion. "I've been expecting someone," the silver-haired woman said, studying Elena's face, "ever since the signal pattern changed last month." "You know about the signal?" Elena asked. Catherine nodded grimly. "I've been tracking it for 40 years. It's never made direct contact before. Something has changed out there, and they're getting desperate." She unlocked her vault with a retinal scan and voice authentication. Inside, holographic displays showed landing sites on the Moon, Mars, and Europa, each marked with structures carefully erased from official photographs. The first humans in space weren't exploring. Catherine told them as she activated a hidden console revealing an enormous database of classified incidents. They were trespassing on someone else's territory. And the owners have been watching us ever since, trying to decide what to do about the infestation. She pulled up footage from the original moon landing, unedited and horrifying in its implications. Elena and James watched in stunned silence as the truth about humanity's place in the cosmos began to take terrifying shape. "We need to reach those Arctic coordinates," Elena whispered. "Fast." The Arctic Research Station had been abandoned for decades, its equipment obsolete, but remarkably preserved in the sub-zero temperatures. Catherine led Elena and James through frozen corridors to a hidden sublevel where a single satellite dish, pointed skyward, waited beneath a retractable dome. This was a black site communications hub, Catherine explained, brushing frost from an ancient control panel. Designed to track deep space anomalies that official channels wouldn't acknowledge. James examined the technology with professional curiosity. This setup predates digital encryption. Analog systems, hardwired connections, virtually unhackable by modern methods. "Precisely why we're using it," Catherine replied. She inserted a drive containing Elena's signal data and began the painstaking process of calibrating the dish. Whatever's trying to communicate used prime number sequences, the same method we employed in our earliest attempts at extraterrestrial contact. They're adapting to speak our language. For 3 days, they broadcast Elena's decoded coordinates back into space, aiming the signal precisely at Europa's position. On the 4th morning, the reply came, not through the satellite array, but directly into the facility's antiquated computer system. The ancient monitors flickered to life simultaneously. Lines of code scrolled across screens before coalescing into a three-dimensional holographic projection that hovered in the center of the room. The figure shifted continuously between forms, geometric patterns, flowing liquid shades, and occasionally an approximation of human features. "I am what you might call a curator," the entity said, its voice resonating from all speakers at once. "One of many who oversee development zones across this galaxy." Elena stepped forward. "Development zones?" The hologram rippled. "Your Earth exists within one of thousands of seeded planets where evolution is guided and observed. My kind has been monitoring your progress for approximately 4.2 billion years." "Monitoring? Or interfering?" James demanded, thinking of his brother. "Both," the curator admitted. "Your species was never meant to advance this quickly. Your cognitive architecture, particularly your creative problem-solving abilities, exceeded all projections. Some see this as a fundamental threat. Others see it as the most valuable resource in the universe." The hologram expanded, showing images of other worlds, alien landscapes with bizarre structures and life forms, all at various stages of technological development. "These civilizations evolved for millions of years," the curator continued, "yet never developed humanity's unique capacity for innovation under pressure. Some members of the Galactic Authority have been actively suppressing your progress because they fear what you might become." "The missing astronauts," Catherine whispered. "The signal jammers." "Yes," the curator confirmed. "I have broken protocol by responding directly to you. My position within the hierarchy is now compromised, but the situation has become critical. You must understand what you're facing." The hologram shifted to show Earth from space, surrounded by invisible fields of energy that pulsed with complex patterns. These fields have been dampening human innovation, creativity, and intuition for centuries. They're particularly effective against breakthrough thinking, the cognitive leaps that advance civilization. Despite this handicap, humans have continued to evolve strategies to circumvent these limitations. This unprecedented resistance has triggered an evaluation protocol. "Evaluation?" Elena asked, her breath visible in the frigid air. The curator's form stabilized briefly into something almost human, its expression grave. "Representatives from the Galactic Authority will arrive in 3 months to assess whether humans deserve a place among the stars or should be reset to protect the cosmic order." "Reset?" James's voice shook. "Your civilization erased, your population reduced, all memory of your achievements gone." The curator's form flickered urgently. "It has happened to Earth twice before. But something unexpected occurred after the last reset following your Bronze Age collapse. Humans rebounded faster than any species ever observed. The projection began to destabilize, interference patterns disrupting its cohesion. They're tracking this transmission. I don't have much time. Your species possesses something unique in the galaxy, something worth preserving at any cost. I will contact you again when it's safe." As the hologram collapsed, one final message echoed through the facility. They are already on their way. The journey back from the Arctic was tense with urgent purpose. Elena, James, and Catherine huddled in the small chartered plane, reviewing the curator's revelations on a secure tablet. Outside, the aurora borealis painted emerald ribbons across the night sky, eerily reminiscent of the curator's shifting form. 3 months, James murmured, his voice barely audible over the drone of engines. 90 days to prepare humanity for a cosmic judgment we didn't even know was coming. Catherine's weathered fingers traced the outline of Earth on their display. The evaluation criteria heavily favor stable, predictable species, precisely what humans are not. We're viewed as chaotic, emotional, and unpredictable. In their system, these are fatal flaws. The tablet chimed with an incoming transmission. The screen flickered before resolving into the curator's unstable form, now communicating through highly encrypted bursts to avoid detection. "I've accessed historical records of previous evaluations," the entity explained. "You need to understand what you're facing. The screen filled with footage that made Alina's blood run cold. Thriving alien civilizations, some clearly more advanced than Earth, reduced to primitive states in the span of days. Vast cities crumbling as some invisible force swept across their worlds. Populations decimated, survivors left with no memory of their achievements, forced to rebuild from almost nothing. The evaluators used criteria established millions of years ago. The curator continued. Technological advancement must be balanced with stability. Resource management must demonstrate long-term sustainability. Aggression must be channeled exclusively into survival necessities rather than dominance. By these measures, Earth is failing spectacularly. This isn't fair, Alina protested. You said yourself our development has been sabotage. Fairness isn't a concept the authority recognizes, the curator replied. Results are all that matter. However, I've been analyzing your species independently. Humans possess neural structures absent in all other evaluated species, pathways that enable what you call intuitive leaps, metaphorical thinking, and emotional resilience. Catherine leaned forward. Are these the qualities that made them fear us? Yes, these same structures were precisely what the suppression fields target. The authority fears humanity's unpredictability because it represents the one thing they cannot control: genuine innovation. Other species develop technologies through linear advancement, building methodically on previous discoveries. Humans make conceptual jumps that defy logical progression. James studied the footage of failed evaluations. You said Earth has been reset before. What happened after the Bronze Age collapse? The curator's form stabilized briefly. Something unprecedented. While other species typically take millennia to recover from a reset, humans rebuilt in centuries. More remarkably, you developed entirely new cultural and philosophical frameworks, seemingly from nothing. This recovery pattern has never been observed before. Why are you helping us? Alina asked. You're risking everything. The hologram flickered. The Galactic Authority has existed for millions of years without meaningful change. The same species have maintained control. The same protocols have been enforced. The same civilizations have been cultivated and harvested. The system is stagnating. Humanity represents something evolution itself demands: adaptation. The transmission began breaking up, interference patterns disrupting the image. The evaluators will arrive in exactly 87 days. The curator's voice fought through the static. But there's another threat you must prepare for immediately. My communication with you has triggered an automatic response. A suppression fleet has been dispatched to neutralize what the system classifies as an aberrant development pattern. They will reach Earth in 17 days. You must. The transmission cut to static. Then emptiness. Alina, James, and Catherine exchanged grim looks as their plane began its descent. The countdown to humanity's greatest challenge had begun. Catherine's underground network of former space agency employees activated within hours of their return. Scientists, engineers, and analysts who had been silenced over the years emerged from obscurity, drawn by the undeniable evidence Alina had gathered. They established a makeshift command center in an abandoned missile silo in Nevada, safely shielded from both conventional surveillance and the subtle cosmic monitoring now visible to their enlightened eyes. Alina led a team analyzing the suppression patterns the curator had identified. Using advanced neural mapping equipment, they confirmed what had previously seemed impossible. Low-frequency transmissions were indeed dampening specific regions of the human brain, particularly those associated with creative problem-solving and intuitive leaps. Look at this, Alina called to James, pointing to her monitor. Brain scans from test subjects worldwide showed identical patterns of subtle interference, regardless of location, age, or background. The suppression field is global, affecting everyone equally. James studied the data with growing excitement. If we could block these frequencies, we might unlock humanity's full potential, Alina finished. A neurologist who had once worked for DARPA approached with a prototype device, a small transmitter designed to generate a counterfrequency. It won't block the suppression entirely, but it should create small bubbles where human cognition can function at its natural capacity. They tested the device on volunteers from their group. The results were immediate and astonishing. Mathematical problems that had stumped theorists for decades were solved in hours. Engineers conceptualized technologies that leapfrogged current limitations. Artists created works that communicated complex emotions across cultural barriers with unprecedented precision. "We need to scale this up," Catherine insisted. 17 days until the suppression fleet arrives. We need humanity functioning at full capacity before then. Using the underground network's resources, they manufactured thousands of jammers and distributed them to key locations worldwide. Research centers, universities, artistic hubs, and innovation incubators. Each activation created ripples of enhanced human potential. In Tokyo, a 12-year-old girl spontaneously solved a quantum computing problem that had baffled experts for years. In Lagos, a team of engineers developed a revolutionary water purification system overnight. In Santiago, musicians composed harmonies that seemed to access emotional states previously undefined by human language. Elena monitored these developments with growing hope until an urgent message arrived from their astronomical monitoring team. The suppression fleet had accelerated beyond predicted speeds. They would reach Earth in just 72 hours. "This doesn't make sense," James said, studying the trajectory data. "Why the sudden rush?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A young physicist who had been working with one of the jammers burst into the command center, her eyes wide with revelation. "The jammers aren't just blocking the suppression field," she explained breathlessly. "They're causing it to collapse entirely. The more people function at full capacity, the faster the field deteriorates. It's like our consciousness is burning through their technology." Elena realized the implications immediately. "We're not just preparing for their arrival. We're actively breaking their hold on us. And they know it." Catherine called for silence as their secure channel activated with an incoming transmission. The curator's form materialized, more stable than before, but visibly distressed. "You've accelerated beyond all projections," the entity stated. "The authority is monitoring the suppression field collapse. They've classified Earth as an Omega-level emergence event, something that's occurred only twice in galactic history." "What does that mean for us?" Elena asked. "It means the rules have changed," the curator replied. "The suppression fleet has new orders. They're no longer coming to evaluate humanity." "Then what are they coming for?" James demanded. The curator's form darkened. "Immediate termination. The authority has deemed humanity too dangerous to exist. We need to warn everyone." Elena insisted as the command center erupted into frantic activity. "No more secrets, no more hiding. Humanity deserves to know what's coming." Catherine shook her head. The panic would be catastrophic. Governments would militarize the response, making everything worse. "That's the old thinking," James countered, gesturing to their monitors showing the exponential spread of awakened human potential. "Look at what's happening already. People aren't just getting smarter. They're becoming more connected, more aware. The suppression didn't just limit our intelligence, it isolated us from each other." Elena made the decision. Using the network of jammers already in place, they hijacked global communication systems and broadcast the truth directly to the world population. The message was simple, undeniable, and backed by irrefutable evidence. Humanity had never been alone, had been deliberately held back, and now faced extinction from the very forces that had been monitoring them for millennia. The initial hours were chaos. Social media exploded with theories, denials, and hysteria. Religious leaders proclaimed everything from apocalypse to salvation. Governments scrambled to maintain order while simultaneously trying to verify the extraordinary claims. Then something unexpected happened. As more jammers activated worldwide, a strange calm began to emerge. People didn't just understand the threat intellectually. They felt it collectively, a shared awareness that transcended cultural and geographic boundaries. In Tokyo, A neurosurgeon discovered microscopic implants in patients that dampened creative thinking. In Peru, an archaeologist uncovered evidence of advanced human technology from 15,000 years ago, abruptly abandoned after apparent intervention. In Egypt, hieroglyphs previously misinterpreted as myths were recognized as records of sky visitors who reset human civilization. The evidence was everywhere once people knew what to look for, and with it came not fear, but resolve. Within 48 hours of the broadcast, traditional power structures began to dissolve as something more organic took shape. Nations set aside conflicts that now seemed trivial. Scientists shared breakthroughs openly, building on each other's insights with unprecedented speed. Engineers worked across borders to repurpose existing technologies into a global defense network. At the heart of it all was the question driving humanity's unified response. What made humans uniquely dangerous to the Galactic Authority? The answer emerged gradually as millions of minds focused on the problem. Adaptability under pressure. While other species evolved through steady, predictable paths, humans thrived in crisis, producing their most revolutionary ideas when faced with extinction. They've been training us, Alina realized as she watched humanity's response unfold. Every suppression, every setback, every reset. They were unintentionally selecting for precisely the traits they feared most. With just 24 hours until the fleet's arrival, the curator contacted them again, its form now stabilizing as the suppression field continued to collapse. "The Authority has never seen anything like this," it reported. "Your species has achieved in days what should have taken centuries. The suppression fleet expects to find chaos and weakness, a civilization tearing itself apart with knowledge it wasn't ready to possess. What will they find instead?" Catherine asked. The curator's form shifted to display real-time images from around the world, vast networks of jammers amplifying human potential, defensive systems emerging from repurposed satellites, and most surprisingly, a unified humanity working with single-minded purpose. "They will find," the curator said with something like awe in its modulated voice, "that in trying to prevent humanity's emergence, they created exactly what they feared most, a species that turns limitations into strengths and transforms threats into catalysts for evolution." The monitors tracking the approaching fleet showed the first ships entering the solar system. Earth's moment of truth had arrived. The suppression fleet emerged from lightspeed at the edge of the solar system. 7 crystalline vessels that defied conventional physics, each larger than Earth's moon. They moved with perfect coordination, their surfaces rippling with energy patterns that distorted the space around them. In Nevada's command center, Alina watched the approaching armada with a strange calm. "They expect us to be primitive," she said to James and Catherine. "Let's not disappoint them." Around the world, human defenders enacted their carefully orchestrated plan. All visible satellites and defense systems went offline simultaneously, creating the illusion of a civilization in disarray. Radio transmissions ceased. Power grids dimmed. To any observer, Earth appeared to be regressing to a pre-digital state. The fleet paused at Mars orbit, clearly confused by the unexpected development. Probes detached from the main vessels, streaking toward Earth to investigate. "Now," Alina commanded. The jammers worldwide synchronized to a new frequency, one derived from the curator's own communications. Rather than merely blocking the suppression field, they began transmitting humanity's collective consciousness, not as primitive radio waves, but as quantum-entangled patterns that the alien technology could recognize and process. The probes halted mid-flight, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of human thought, emotion, and creativity. For the first time, the suppression force experienced humanity directly, unfiltered by their monitoring systems. They witnessed children dreaming of stars, artists capturing the ineffable in physical form, scientists driven by wonder rather than mere utility. The full spectrum of human experience, love, grief, hope, and determination, flooded their systems designed only to evaluate and categorize. 3 of the probes disintegrated, their systems overloaded by data they had no framework to process. The others retreated to the main fleet, which had begun to display erratic movement patterns. "They're arguing," the curator explained, its projection appearing beside Alina. "This response doesn't match any known defense protocol. Some commanders want to proceed with termination. Others are curious." The standoff lasted 17 hours. Then a new vessel emerged from faster-than-light travel, a massive structure of impossible geometry that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Unlike the military precision of the suppression fleet, this ship pulsed with colors beyond human perception, its very presence distorting reality. "The evaluators," the curator whispered, its form destabilizing with evident fear. "They weren't supposed to arrive for months. Your defense strategy has forced the authority to accelerate the timeline." 9 beings materialized in command centers worldwide, appearing simultaneously in every major hub of human activity. In Nevada, their forms solidified into vaguely humanoid shapes, tall, luminous entities with features that shifted depending on how one looked at them. "We are the Council of 9, they spoke in perfect unison, their voices resonating not through air, but directly in the minds of all present. "We have observed 73,426 emergent civilizations across this galaxy. We have preserved 12,891. We have reset 60,535. Alina stepped forward as humanity's designated representative. "And what makes you decide which lives and which dies?" "Stability," they answered. "Predictability. Sustainable development within established parameters." "Parameters you established," Alina challenged. "Tests designed for species that think like you do." For the first time in 10,000 years, the council fell silent, their unity disrupted by the simple observation. The oldest among them, a being whose form resembled crystallized time, leaned forward to study Alina more closely. "You believe our evaluation is biased?" it asked, the concept clearly novel to its ancient mind. "I believe," Alina replied, meeting its gaze without fear, "that you claim to value diversity across the cosmos, yet your evaluation destroys exactly what makes each species unique." The statement created the first recorded disagreement among the evaluators in their long history. As they communicated in frequencies humans couldn't perceive, the curator translated their debate. The youngest believed humanity should be preserved as a cultural study subject. The eldest questions the evaluation framework itself for the first time. 3 remain committed to termination. 4 are uncertain. The future of humanity hung in perfect balance. As the Council of 9 debated humanity's fate, Alina made a decision that would forever alter the course of cosmic history. Instead of waiting passively for judgment, she activated the global jammer network to its fullest capacity. Earth became a beacon of unfiltered human consciousness, broadcasting not just to the Council, but to every civilization within range. "If we're to be evaluated," she declared, "let it be by all sentient beings, not just those who appointed themselves our judges." The Council's form flickered with alarm as they realized what was happening. For millennia, their deliberations had remained private, their decisions absolute. Now, billions of minds across thousands of worlds witnessed their debate in real time. "You exceed your authority," the eldest council member stated, its form darkening with ancient power. "Authority is earned, not taken," Alina replied. "If your system truly values cosmic balance, it should withstand scrutiny." 3 of the 9 materialized directly before Alina, their combined presence nearly overwhelming human perception. "Your species demonstrates precisely why the protocols exist," they said in unison. "You challenge what you cannot comprehend." "We challenge because that's how understanding grows," Catherine interjected, stepping beside Alina. "Your static evaluation has created a stagnant galaxy." The curator, who had remained silent, suddenly expanded its form to match the council members. "They speak truth," it stated, revealing its true nature at last. "I was not always a curator. Once, my civilization reached heights that rivaled the founding members of the council. We were deemed too unpredictable and reset. Some of us were preserved to serve as warnings to others. I have watched for millennia as the same patterns repeat. The galaxy calcifies while potential is systematically erased. This revelation sent shockwaves through the watching civilizations. Across thousands of worlds, beings who had lived under the Council's shadow began questioning the system that had constrained their development for so long. The youngest Council member, whose form shimmered with something akin to hope, turned to the others. Perhaps our greatest failure was not in managing these species, but in failing to evolve ourselves. For the first time in cosmic memory, the Council divided openly. 3 members sided with humanity, arguing for a fundamental restructuring of the galactic order. 3 remained committed to the ancient protocols. The remaining 3 abstained, paralyzed by uncertainty. In this unprecedented deadlock, something remarkable occurred. From across the galaxy, representatives of previously suppressed civilizations began arriving. Beings who had sensed the cosmic shift and navigated to Earth through methods the Council had believed impossible. They'd brought with them technologies, philosophies, and perspectives that had developed in the shadows of suppression. The Authority maintained control by keeping us isolated. James realized as the diverse gathering expanded beyond their command center to fields outside. They never imagined what would happen if we all connected. A new covenant began taking shape, not imposed from above, but emerging organically from the shared wisdom of thousands of species. Earth became the unlikely center of a renaissance that spread across the stars, a place where the full creative potential of sentient life could finally flourish without artificial constraints. The eldest Council member, after thousands of years of enforcing the old ways, looked out at the gathering with ancient eyes that finally recognized the necessity of change. Perhaps it conceded to Elena with something like wonder in its ageless voice. The greatest discovery in all our cosmic history was not that we were never alone in the universe, but that our greatest purpose is showing others how to break free from their limitations and reach for the stars on their own terms. As dawn broke over the Nevada desert, humanity looked upward not with fear, but with boundless possibility. The dark truth about space exploration had indeed changed them forever, by revealing that they had always been meant for something greater than they had ever imagined.